Over the past few weeks, something has been keeping seismologists across the world focused on the Pacific Ocean. One earthquake after another, volcanic eruptions, and tsunami warnings have appeared in rapid succession. It's as if the entire region is entering a new period of instability, from the Philippines to Japan, from Kamchatka to the Kuril Islands. The ground has been shaking beneath the feet of millions of people. At first glance, these events may seem like separate natural disasters, with no connection to one another. But what has scientists concerned is the speed and frequency with which they are occurring. Deep beneath the vast Pacific Ocean, where massive tectonic plates collide and slide past each other, something appears to be changing. Researchers are now examining new data, new seismic patterns. It's a new geological discoveries that challenge long-standing assumptions about how this region behaves. And that raises a critical question. Are these simply isolated events happening by coincidence? Or are they the first warning signs of a much larger geological threat beginning to unfold beneath the Pacific? Subscribe to the channel for more updates on earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, and major geological developments across the Pacific and beyond. The month of May 2026 felt unusually active across the Pacific. In just a matter of weeks, powerful earthquakes and volcanic activity appeared one after another, stretching across thousands of miles. On the 4th of May, a magnitude 7.4 earthquake struck the Philippines. Only days later, Indonesia's Dukono volcano erupted, sending a massive ash plume high into the atmosphere and disrupting daily life in surrounding communities. Then the shaking returned. Another magnitude 7.4 earthquake struck near the Philippines. Its coastal residents faced uncertainty as emergency services monitored the situation closely. Japan soon experienced its own series of tremors, while seismic activity spread through the Kuril Islands, Kamchatka, and Sakhalin. Some earthquakes occurred deep beneath the Earth's surface, while others were felt by communities hundreds of miles away. Individually, none of these events would be considered unprecedented, but together they formed a pattern that was difficult to ignore. For scientists watching the Pacific, the growing question was no longer about a single earthquake or volcano. It was whether these events were connected by a much larger geological process unfolding beneath the ocean floor. As researchers began analyzing the growing wave of seismic activity, an even more concerning picture started to emerge. The earthquakes themselves were not the only reason for alarm. Hidden beneath the waters off northern Japan, scientists were discovering evidence that some tectonic faults were behaving very differently from what long-standing geological models had predicted. Recent studies suggested that certain sections of the seafloor near Hokkaido were accumulating stress faster than expected. In simple terms, the Earth's crust in these areas appeared to be storing enormous amounts of energy, like a spring being compressed deeper and deeper over time. What made this discovery especially troubling was that some of these zones had previously been considered relatively stable. Researchers also identified geological structures that were not fully represented on existing hazard maps. These findings raised new questions about how future earthquakes could develop and how powerful they might become. For many scientists, the concern was no longer limited to isolated seismic events. Instead, attention was shifting toward a much larger system that may be evolving beneath the Pacific, largely out of sight but impossible to ignore. To understand why scientists became increasingly concerned, it is necessary to look back at an event that changed the conversation across the Pacific. In late July 2025, a massive magnitude 8.8 earthquake struck off the coast of Kamchatka. Within seconds, enormous sections of the Earth's crust shifted. Entire areas of land moved several feet, while parts of the fault zone experienced displacement on a scale rarely observed in modern history. The earthquake was among the most powerful ever recorded. But the destruction did not end when the shaking stopped. A powerful tsunami surged toward nearby coastlines, reaching heights that overwhelmed parts of the Kuril Islands. Ports were damaged, communities were evacuated, and emergency systems were pushed into action. Then something else happened. In the months that followed, the region refused to settle down. Thousands of aftershocks continued beneath the surface. While volcanic activity intensified across Kamchatka, several volcanoes showed renewed signs of life, suggesting that the earthquake had altered conditions deep underground. For many researchers, this was no longer a single disaster. It looked more like the beginning of a much larger geological chain reaction that was still unfolding. As scientists continued studying the aftermath of the Kamchatka earthquake, they uncovered a finding that was perhaps even more unsettling than the event itself. According to researchers analyzing crustal movement data, the earthquake may have released not only recently accumulated stress, but also energy that had remained trapped since a major seismic